Morning and welcome back to Alan's Allotment. It's Friday the 17th of February 2022. So I had a comment from one of my subscribers about the little grow light project propagator stroke heated propagator. They were very interested, so today I'm going to battle on and actually make that propagator, and then we're going to plant some seeds in it. We're going to run another one side by side with some seeds, same seeds, and we're going to do that little test. Now I realise the weather is picking up a bit now, and this would have probably been better earlier on, but then to be honest, I'm going to plant some tomatoes, and I don't really want tomatoes any earlier than this anyways. But I just want to see if we end up with a difference and just how well this heated propagator will work. So it's going to be a start to finish video of how I make the heated propagator out of a Wilco propagator, some USB grow lights that I bought, and some vivarium heat mats. And I said they were 12 volt, they're not the 5 volts, which is even better because they'll work with the battery bank, but we'll need to see what amperage they're going to draw. So here you'll see I was charging some lights up, and this is the battery bank, and I plugged it into the solar USB ports like I said I was going to try. And it's actually charged this bank fully. Not only that, whilst it's charging, I charged up this light that was completely flat. I charged this up. And I'm also got one of the globe lights on charging as well. Because what I found with the solar panels on that one is that basically as soon as it went dark it was turning itself on and flattening itself again. Where here it won't do that because it's now getting direct power from this little battery bank. Just got the kettle on. I've got the electrics on. I'm pleased I've got these electrics in here now, because another thing is I've got the battery on charge now as well. So I have loads of these, but as they come flat, I've brought one of the chargers up. I have 3 of these. I brought one of the chargers up here so that they're a quick charge, 1 hour, leave the generator running for an hour. I can use the electricity for other things as well and charge my battery at the same time. Then I have another full battery, you don't need to take down home. Right, so here I have 2 identical propagators. The sliding lid for air, and you can also water them through the handles as it just so happens. So what I'm doing is using 2 exactly the same size. This one will have no grow lights and no heat, and this one will. And this is the little heat mat. It's a reptile heat mat, and it's quite thick. It's I'm led to believe a waterproof material as well. However, I'm not sure how that will work out, but it's an experiment, so we're going to try it. So ideally, to get the best out of these, you need to wrap them in a pillowcase killer case or something to that effect. However, because the plants will be getting watered at some point, I decided the best way to do this would be to put a capillary matting in the bottom, which will act as an insulator from the bottom, and another one on the top. And these are cheap as chips. You get these in Wilco's as well, the capillary mattings. Okay, and what we'll do is we'll put a little hole in the handle, and we'll feed this cable through here along with the light cable as well. We will mount these 2 lights if they will fit. Oh, that's a point, I never thought of checking the size of them. Not quite. I'll think of a way of doing this. They will fit in, but I'm going to have to put a piece of wood in there to mount these on. And they will be like that, in essence, separated better, like that. Right, so very crudely we've cobbled this together. So the first thing is, this battery here is only for testing purposes. I'm not going to use this one, although we may do down the road depending on how the battery banks do. But I've literally brought this out here just so I can hook up this little battery checker. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this. So this is basically one of those battery checkers, but what this comes with is a little heat temperature sender. And all I've done is I've basically threaded the cable through the hole in the vent in the top, and I've dropped this heat temperature sender down inside, and it's at the moment 16 degrees because it is quite warm today. Actually, the sun's shining and it's quite warm. Sorry about it's not brilliant, especially in the daylight. Anyways, you'll have to take my word, it's 16 degrees inside there. So what I'm going to do now is I've got the battery bank and I've hooked up the heat mat underneath, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it on its lowest setting, see what it draws in amps, close up the vent and see if the temperature climbs on that. So the first thing we need to do is trigger the device. There we go, all triggered, and we'll turn this on its highest. Right, so let's have a look. On the highest setting it's still only drawing 1.2 amps. Let's drop it to middle. And it's fluctuating. Now it's still 1.2 in middle. Let's drop it to the lowest setting. I'm a little bit miffed at this. Oh, here we go, it's starting to drop now. 1.25 amps. Let me try reseating this. Lowest setting. So it looks like the different heat. Oh, hang on. Yeah, it's still fluctuating. Oh, so maybe it pulses and regulates the voltage until it's up to temperature. So it's likely going to draw more. And you can see fluctuating and dropping down to less than half an amp from 1.2 amps. So maybe once it's up to temperature, that amperage will drop. We'll have to wait and see. So what I'm going to do now is close up this vent, and then we're going to give it 10 minutes or so. I'm going to close it up as far as I can, like that, and then we're going to give this, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes and see if we climb from 16 degrees inside the propagator. Now bear in mind we've got holes in the handles here, so we're going to lose a bit of heat. I might put some tape over these. These are for self-watering, so you can water them without taking the lid off, but for our testing we're going to cover these with tape to try and stop losing some of the heat. Give you a little rundown of what I've done and changed. So the first thing is, this isn't necessary, it's for my testing only. I want to see what we can do with this. So here I have a little USB converter from a car battery plugged in. Okay, I've took the charge lead to this power pack. This is basically simulating the solar panel USB. So the USB ports on the solar charge controllers. I'm just doing a simulation, and you can see that the battery is charging. The flashing light means it's charging. It was fully charged, but I'm just doing the test. You'll see now that this amperage is dropping down to 1.3. So what I've done was I cranked up the power to full on high. I also dropped the probe through the side and had it touching. So I've got a weight on the probe, if you can see, holding that probe on the mat. so I can see what temperature that this capillary matting is getting up to, and I'm hopefully you'll be able to see this a little better now. It's now up on that capillary matting at 22 degrees. Now that's way above what we're going to need in this propagator. How it will hold its temperature when the weather turns cold, we don't really know. That's an unknown, and we'll need to test it. So the theory of charging the bank, obviously only through daytime, and keeping it topped up, and using the sun's energy to keep this topped up, to heat this element, and the fact it only draws around 1.6 amps is really good. Now I could leave it in this setup, or even just go straight from the mat to this and run it off this big battery, which we may need to do. Right, so now I'm running another test, and what I've done now is I've got the grow lights mounted in the lid of this. As you can see, I can pick this up, and all I've done is I've put some screws in the holes. They come with a sticky back as well, but obviously with the condensation that would just drop off. So I've put some screws, just one on each end, and I've just pierced the plastic and no more. I've separated the wires now so they would fit either side of this. Okay, so that's our lid. I didn't have to put any wood in or anything, so that's worked out rather nice. Now of course these will also generate a tiny bit of heat, only a tiny bit. Now then, these are on full power, because we want to see just how much power we're going to draw if they're both in the full position. So I've now got the lights on full power, and I've now got the heater focus on full power. You can see the voltage has dropped to 3.99 on the battery bank, but we are still charging, which is from this battery currently, but would be from the solar charger. And more amazingly, on both on full power are still pulling less than 2 amps. And we're still on 22 degrees on that mat. Now then, there's a reason I put this back to high power. I'm going to drop it down now, and I'll show you why. Because if I drop this back down to the low setting, we know that this pulses and regulates itself. But what also happens is the lights flash. They get brighter when that drops, and then dim at the touch while it draws the power. So the way I can see this working, if it's going to, I mean, yes, we could live with that. They're still going to produce light. And of course, to conserve power, we can reduce those lights to that, which we know was pretty much okay, even on the lowest setting. And they are still flashing, as you see, but not as much. So I've just had another thought. We could take this a step further. I'm like a mad scientist, am I? And Danny from the Grapevine Garden said that that's pretty much what I am. But I just like to play with technology. And if I can, why not? It's me hobby. So, another idea that's just occurred to me. You can buy 12-volt timers. And there's no reason why. I mean, this is obviously burning away in broad daylight, which isn't necessary. So what we could do is we could put a 12-volt timer into this equation in line and make this only turn on the lights and or the heater during the night time. Say come on at, I don't know, 4 o'clock before it gets dark, and then run all night and turn off at let's say 8 a.m. in the morning, by which time we should have some daylight and or possibly some sunshine if we ever get any here up in Cumbria, and the natural daylight will then take over in the warmth from the sun, and we won't overheat these. Right, so some of you might be wondering, why am I even doing this experiment? And I believe the reason I'm doing it is because most people, but not everyone, has the facilities to start seeds off at home. And then there's the cost of the electric and all the rest of it. I'm trying to make a totally free powered, via the sun, heat and light source for seedlings. So that's the main goal. Whether it works or not, we don't know, but we'll find out. We can make it work by increasing the size of the battery and or interchanging batteries. I'm also looking now with the idea of using possibly a Wi-Fi remote control so I can control from my mobile phone and turn it on and off. But that's just another idea I'm talking about. The idea behind this is for people who don't have a spare room, facilities to grow seeds, or room at all in the house, like me, to grow the seeds early on. I'm looking for an alternative solution, and hopefully a free one with free energy for as low a cost as possible, and this is what I've basically done. So I want to say a thank you to Wendy Barry for pushing me to get on and make this video. I also want to thank her for the donations that she made, which contributes towards the cost of the little LED lights and the battery banks, etc, 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 as does all donations. And I really do appreciate it, guys. It helps me bring you content like this that you may find interesting and even useful, and show you how I do it step by step. So I'm just having a cup of coffee, and then I'm going to go back out and do some checks, and then finally start putting this together, and we'll get some seeds in there. These have been running now probably 45 minutes, full power with the lights, full power on the heater. Still drawing about 1.7 amps. Hasn't made a dent in the battery, it's still charging, as you can see. And we're up to 23 degrees now. So we can crank the heat down if we need to, but I'm going to leave it like that. I'm now going to assemble this and get some seeds in, and then we're going to leave it running and see how it goes. And for real-time testing, I'm going to connect this to the solar charge controller USB. Now, bearing in mind, this isn't even set up correctly. This isn't outside in the sunshine. You can possibly see it's a lovely sunny day out there, but this isn't capturing any sun. Right, there's no time like the present. I'm going to mount this solar panel outside now. If you do this, make sure you don't let the wires touch, because there's power going through those and you don't want to short out your solar panel. Wrap a bit of tape around the positive end before you feed the wires through. Right, a job I've been meaning to get done for I don't know how long. The whole 100 watt solar panel now is now mounted on the side of the shed with a slight angle that way to catch the evening sun, and we can do the same with that one. That's only a little 25 watt one, this is 100 watt. Both cables fed in through the hole in there. We'll reconnect this one back to the charge controller. Let's just trickle charging batteries in there, and the big one we'll use for the experiment. Right, so I'm just doing a little test on these solar panels now. I'm not sure how well you're going to see this. So I've got this set at amps at the moment, and this is the small 25 watt, and it's pushing out just under half an amp. Alright, I'm not sure how well you'll see this one either because of the sun, but this one's putting out 1.2 amps. So this is putting out in full daylight almost what those two units are drawing. 1.6 it's gone up to now. And I've wired it up to this charge controller here. And as you can see, it's charging away quite nicely. That means we've now got power to the USB sockets as well, and just obviously you have to connect the battery first, then the solar panel. So I've had to hook it up just to this battery, so it's doing something, it's trickle charging this battery at the same time. We've got our, you can see it's charging, our battery's gone from 91% to 100 already. Right, almost ready for the test. So I've got 2 trays here, exactly the same size, and this one's slightly narrower, but I couldn't find another one, so I've had to cut that one off so that I can put one in that tray and one in this tray. One will have 6, one will have 4, it doesn't really matter. The thing is, it's all the same compost, same size seed trays, all going to be the same seeds, in premium seaweed multi-purpose compost that I bought last year from Aldi. And we're going to use warmth loving plants. So here we've got some melon, Hale's Best Jumbo, and tomato Crimson Crush, but you only get 10 seeds. So I'm a bit low, just in case the unheated propagator doesn't work, I'm only going to put 2 tomatoes in this one and more of the melon, and then we'll balance them out the other way around with the heated propagator, which is turned on now and working away. It's all done. So the first thing I'll show you is the ambient temperature in this dry area at the moment. 13.2. We've had the propagator going now about 10 minutes and 16 degrees. And what I've done is I've pushed the little heat temperature sender, the thermometer, just underneath this mat, so it's touching the heat mat. Now when I put weight on top, that will get warmer, and we might need to turn it down onto the lowest setting. But so you can see what our trial is. They're both identical except difference in numbers. In this one we've got 8 melons. I don't need that many, and 2 Crimson Crush, but this is the one that's going to go in the cold propagator, along with some lettuce, winter density, just scattered in the 4 trays. For the other one, lettuce, winter density again, and then this one we've got 8 Crimson Crush and 2 melons. So they're identical but different numbers, and we're just going to do the test. Right, the experiment is concluded, or rather begins. So what I've done, I've decided to do, seeds don't need light, well some do, but these don't need light to germinate. So there's no point in wasting the electricity from the batteries with the lights at the moment. So what we've done is we've got these on top of the mat. I've chucked the temperature probe under the mat onto the heating mat, and we've got it set on high temperature. When I put it in, it was 13. When I put these in, it was 13 degrees. It's now 16 degrees, and I've only just sort of put the lid on now. They've been watered, and we're going to leave these now and see what happens. If they cook, we've lost a few seeds. If they germinate, it's a bonus. And if they germinate faster than these ones, it's another bonus. And the experiment will have been worth it. So we'll keep you posted how long it takes for these to germinate, if they do germinate. And we'll let you know if there was a benefit in doing this versus this. Right, that's me done. Sorry if this video's dragged on a little bit, guys, but I wanted to show you basically what I am doing, how I build it. It can be finessed, but technically the experiment is up and running now, and we'll wait the outcome. and showing you different ways on, you know, you can go from a car battery to use it to power it. Either way, you've got the solar panel recharging, and we'll just see how that all pans out. The aim of this is to get seeds to germinate quicker, and then give them the grow light until they go into the polytunnel, in case the weather's bad, all for free. Basically, the energy we're using is coming from natural daylight and the sun. And the whole idea of the experiment is to see if we can do this for free, and if the benefits outweigh the possibilities of doing it and, you know, time. Now, I've just enjoyed playing, so it's no skin off my nose whether it works or it doesn't. But if you want to see how it works, you'll need to follow along. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, give it a like or a dislike, whichever, and let me know what you think in the comments. As always, wherever you are in the world, please stay safe, be practical, and keep yourselves out of harm's way. Thanks for all your likes, dislikes, comments, subscriptions, donations, and suggestions. They really, really, really are all appreciated, and thanks for following along. As always, guys, wherever you are, please stay safe, be practical, and keep yourselves out of harm's way. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you again in the next video.